Alright, let's get started with the fresh installation of SSMS, that stands for SQL Server Management Studio, and the SQL Server. So you have to remember that we should have two packages installed inside our system, that is SSMS and the SQL Server. You have to install the latest one that is provided by the Microsoft documentation, and I'll just keep those documentation in the link below where you can download the SSMS and the SQL Server. And it doesn't mean that you have to first of all install the SQL Server at first and then only install the SSMS. You can just install the SSMS at first and then only install the SQL Server too, as it works side by side. Let me minimize it, and then here you can see it will tell us to install in the C package, and I'm fast forwarding this video so that we can save some time over here. Now let's wait for some time. So here our installation is completed. I'll just click on close. Now if we type SQL Server Management Studio, and then you can see over here we have our SQL Server Management Studio, but we have to notice that we have not installed SQL Server. That's why it won't give us the server name. So in order to find our server name, we have to install our SQL Server, because our SQL Server is going to be handled by SSMS. So let's type SQL Server, and then you can install the latest version. It might be either 2019 or 2022 that is coming up. So install the latest one, that is a express version. So here our file has been downloaded. Now let's open the file up, that is our express edition of our SQL Server. Here we are going to select the basic package, and then you can just select a custom package too, and then carry forward the installation process. And let me click this basic installation, and then after clicking on it, then it should navigate me to the license agreement page, and I'll just click on accept, and then we are going to install that in our C location. Let me fast forward this video so that we can save some time over here till it's downloaded. Now you can see over here we have connection now option, which lets us to connect our SQL Server Management Studio with the SQL Server. And then if you have not installed SSMS, then this dialog bar is going to tell us to install the SSMS, and we have already installed. That's why we don't need to do that back again. As I have already told, it works side by side. Now I can just simply close on the installer, and then from the SSMS, let's open it up and wait for some time. Alright, our dialog box is going to be open. Now inside our browse for more, here you can see we have a database engine and the desktop version that I can see over here. At first I'm just going to connect with the desktop version, and later we are going to change into the SQL authentication mode and how to create a authentication for our database system. So you can see over here we have lots of database inside our system database, but here from our query we can create a new database, but we don't need to create a query. Here in the right clicking on this folder, it allows me to add a database name and everything. So I can just give a database name as my DB, that's all, and then I can click on OK to create a new database name as MyDB. Now this my database is now going to have a table. So inside the table you can see we don't have any of the table. We have to create the table as like how we have created a new database. So right clicking on it, it will allow me to add a new table. Now I'm just going to fast forward this video so that we could save some time and quickly adding those fields. We have successfully added 3 fields inside our database. Now our next objective is to connect our mobile app with the database. So in order to do that, we are going to select our favorite IDE. Either it might be the Visual Studio 2019 or the Visual Studio 2022. It might be anything. Just you need to connect our Visual Studio mobile app with the existing database that we have just now created. So you can just select a .NET Maui project as well as the Xamarin project too. So when I click on Ctrl and S, and then it will allow me to save my table. So here I'm going to save my table name as my table, and then click on OK. That's it. My table name is my table. You can see now I can just refresh my whole database by let's close it. So here at top I can just refresh it, and then it will allow me to show all the existing table inside my MyDB database. So here you can see now I have my table populated over here. I'll just double click it so that we can see 1000 rows, and then you can see we can just see the 1000 rows as well as this to output the view of my table. But we need to add something inside my table, correct? So right clicking on it, and then we can just edit top 200 rows. I will be fast forwarding this video so that we could save some time and add 2 row items. After entering the data, just you need to hit tab button to go to the next row. Now we are going to create a new Xamarin Forms project as well as the .NET Maui project that is coming up in the future of extended version of Xamarin Forms. So this is the .NET Maui project that is running in right now Visual Studio 2019, and the upcoming version of Visual Studio is 2022. So here I'll be just selecting Xamarin Forms, and you can just select a Maui project also, and then create a new project name as Jam App. Now after clicking on create, let's wait for some time, and then you will be displayed with this UI dialog box. Here I'll just select a blank app, and then you can select iOS project also. And then right now I'm not interested in creating the iOS project, but I have tested it on iOS project. It works fine too, but you have to do some configuration, and then stick with me with this video till the last end so that we can fix some of the bugs on the iOS too. So here we can see I have just selected my hardware Android device, and then I'm just running my first blank Xamarin Forms application on my hardware Android device. So if you have emulators, then you can just display the project that is running on the emulator. So let's stop this project. Now our next work is to inherit some of the plugins that are required in order to connect our Xamarin Forms project along with the SQL Server database. So here you can see, let's go inside this dialog box in the browse section. Here I'll just type system system.data, and then you can see system.data.sql client is the plugin that is required in order to connect our Maui app as well as the Xamarin app to the SSMS, that is SQL Server Management Studio. Just click on OK, and then it will try to install all the packages that are required for our application to connect with the SSMS. Now our next work is to create one button. Here we'll be creating one button, and then whose background color is going to look like this, and I'm just going to copy it and then paste it, and then whenever we click on this click handler, then some event is going to be triggered. So whenever I click on new event handler, then it will create our event handler properties inside the .cs part. So here I am giving a text color for the button as white. Now let's go to the XAML.cs part of the main page. Now you have to stick with me till the end of this video so that we can fix lots of bugs that are going to come up till the end of the video. So at first here I'm just defining a SQL connection like this way so that we can add data source property, initial catalog, user ID, password to this SQL connection. Let's define a variable named as string space server db name that will be used inside the initial catalog section. That is, our initial catalog will be our db name. So you can get your db name from here, and then we have already defined, right? So this is the db name that will be used. So let me minimize it, and then let's paste it over here, or just type it, that is a short db name. Now next thing is we need a connection, right? In order to connect our mobile app with the server database, so we need something like server name. So you have to understand right now is our mobile app is going to connect with SSMS DB. So in order to do that, it needs one common mediator. So in order to create that common mediator, we need one shared IP address. So let's go to the IP config of our desktop, and then here you can see we have IPv4 address. So this is the common shared IP that is going to connect between the mobile app as well as the SSMS DB. So you are going to use this server name inside the initial catalog. Now our next thing is we are going to add our user ID as well as the password, that is server user name is the user ID and the server user password is the password that will be used. So server password, let's go over there. And then now server username and the password requires some configuration, because right now we are in the desktop authentication. Now we have to change our authentication by going through the properties, and then inside the security section, here you can see Windows authentication mode has been activated. For the new user it will show like this way, but if you have already connected your database with the SQL authentication and have your own username and the password, then you are good to go. You don't need to follow this step, that is selecting SQL mode as well as the Windows authentication mode, and then you can just copy your username and password to the app itself. Now for the new user only, I'm just going to perform some of the steps that are required in order to convert your desktop authentication mode to SQL authentication mode and grab the username and the password. Now let's wait for some time till it loads. Now our desktop has been restarted. Now here you can see in the login sections, here we have to create a new login. In order to do that, we just right click on it, and then here in the new login section, here you can see we have SQL Server authentication, and then we can give a login name as of your own name. It doesn't matter, like you have to use my name. So you can just create a new name for your SQL Server authentication, and I'm just going to add the password as 123456 for my test SQL Server authentication, and don't use this type of password in the production mode app or else you are going to ruin it. Now inside server role, here you can select system admin and then click on OK. Now we have successfully configured our database with the SQL Server authentication. Now we can just safely close this whole SSMS, and then let's verify whether our database can be accessed with the username and the password that is provided by SQL Server authentication or not. Now it's safe to select our authentication mode, that is SQL Server authentication mode, and use the login username as well as the password that we have already set up, and don't use my own. And then you can just create a new password and then add the same password that you have used, 123456, and then 123456. This is just for testing only. So yeah, we just successfully logged in to our database with the username as well as the password. So now our next work is to go to the app and then use the same username as well as the password that we have used over here, and then just paste the password, that is Samir, as well as the 123456, and you can just copy the server DB name inside the data source section. So data source is going to be our server name, that is being a data source. That is how the mediator works, and the initial catalog is going to be our server DB name. So I'm just going to copy it and then let's paste it inside the initial catalog, and the user ID is going to be Samir. So let's copy it, user ID. Yep. So let me just create some semicolons and then add it, and then server username is the username, and the password is same thing, that will be encapsulated inside the curly braces. So you can just use the same string 2, it doesn't matter, you have to follow my way in order to do it. So let me paste it inside. Oh my god, I have to paste it inside here. All right, so that's all. Now we have to create some SQL connection and then use our plugin in order to connect our app with the SSMS. Here SQL connection can be inherited from SQL connection using system.data.sql client, which we have used previously. That is our plugin. So it is going to connect our SSMS with the SQL connection that we have defined over here, so that our mobile app is going to interact with the SSMS. So it is going to take the connection. Now we have to open the connection between our mobile app and the SSMS. So SQL connection, that is our SQL connection over here. Let's copy it and then paste it over here, dot open. Yep. Now we can just open it up. So if we are able to open this SQL connection without any of the failures, then we are confirmed that our mobile app has been connected with the SSMS. So let me add that whole line of code inside try catch, and then we will be catching the exceptions that will be there inside the app. So here I'll just put some breakpoint, and these breakpoints are really mandatory in order to just check whether we have successfully connected our mobile app with the SSMS or not. So here you can see I've just added some breakpoints over here. Let's refresh this catch exception too. You can see over here we have just refreshed our catch exception, that is adding some console.write line and ex.message. And finally we have to fix some of the bug that I have created over here, that is D should be caps. That was just a typo. Now let's rerun the app and then see whether we will get a successful output or not. Let's wait for some time. Alright, our application is running on the real Android phone. Now whenever I click on the button, then I will go through the try step by hitting F10 on my keyboard. So as soon as I click on F10, then we can see we'll just go navigate to the bottom of the line of the code where every breakpoints are going to be hit. And let's wait for some time, because it takes some time to either give a successful output or else it is going to give us a catch exception. So you can see we can catch the exception over here. So let's go to the message, and it's telling me that there was network related instance server error. So in order to fix this type of error, that is basically due to the IP address connections. So let's quickly go to the SQL Server management configurations and then fix it out. If that successful connection was done, then you could have gone to line number 32 where there is a breakpoint, but we've not connected our mobile app with the SSMS. So in order to do it, we have to first of all go to SQL Server 2019 configuration. Then inside SQL Server network configuration, we have to double click in it and then go to the protocols for SQL Express, and then TCP IP connection inside the properties section, right clicking on it. You can go over there, and then inside the IP section, let's go below and then select the TCP protocol for our all the connection. Let's go below. So we have to just see where is the IP address for all. Here we have to change the TCP port to 1433 and then click on apply, and then our dialog box is appeared. It is just telling us to restart the service. In order to see the changes, click on OK. Now inside the TCP IP section itself, we have to just enable it, yes, and then click on OK. So now our SQL Server service in the second option here, you can see. Let's go to the second one, right click on it and then restart it. Now again let's go back to the protocols for SQL Express, and then inside the TCP IP section, here inside the IP address, I have to enable all the IP address over here, so that we will just get a ping to all the IP address wherever our mobile application is connected with the SSMS DB. So I'll just enable all the IP address over here. So let's go down, enable it. Alright, now we are ready to apply the changes and then click on OK. Now again we have to restart our SQL Server. So click on restart and wait for some time as it will stop as well as start the service. Now I'm going to turn off my firewall as this step is not recommended, and then I just want you to test the app and without turning up the firewall and then see whether you are catching up with the another exception or not as of now. So here I was facing some issue, that's why I'm just closing the firewall off. So let's go to the turn Windows Defender firewall on and off section over here. Then it will navigate to this dialog box and then turning it from here and then clicking on OK. Let's wait for some time and then close this dialog box. So our firewall is successfully turned off. So but this step is not recommended, and I have just follow up with this Stack Overflow questions, as it was telling me to turn the firewall off. Address, so let me paste it over here. That is our server name, that is our data source. Now let's rerun the app and then see whether we are able to hit the breakpoint at line number 32 or not. That is our crucial step that we'll be setting. So whenever I click on that button, clicking on continue, it will just hit the API and then it is telling me a next exception. You can see over here, now we are getting next exception, that is make sure you have connected international code set assembly installed and enabled or not. So this is our next bug that we have to fix it out. So that is a really easy bug. In order to fix this issue, we have to first of all enable some of the property inside the Android as well as the iOS. So in order to do it, the good news is I have already done some research and then we have already a ready-made solution in our Stack Overflow questions. So you can see for our iOS, it is just telling me to add the West as an internationalization, and for the Android too, it is telling me to support it encoding as West. That's it. So let me close the app at first and then go to the Android properties, and the same step is going to be followed for iOS also, that is internationalization for our iOS to be West. So go to the properties. You can just see my video's description where I'll give those link where you can just refer it. So I'll just go to the properties Android option, and then you can see I have just selected the West option, and this is for iOS. So this link I'll just give in my video's description where you will just get it out. So that's all for the iOS configuration. Now let's go to the app itself and then see whether our application was able to run, and then go to line number 32 or not. So let's wait for some time till our application loads up. So we'll be expecting our line number 32 be hit as soon as our connection was open between our mobile app and the SSMS database. Alright, now the application is running on my real Android phone. Then you can see over here, when I click on connect with the server and clicking on continue, you can see, oh my god, we just connected our mobile app with the SSMS database. You can see over here, we have successfully connected it. Now our next work is to get all the list items that is there inside our SSMS database inside our Xamarin Forms mobile app as well as .NET Maui app. So the video has already exceeded long, so I'll just continue the video on my next section where we'll just get all the content item that is our list item from the SSMS database. Till then, stay safe and take care.